So, thanks everybody for hopping on. I will be completely honest with everybody. Normally, when I do a team call, it's usually generally more focused around like tips and ideas that people can do in their business. But we're doing it just a little bit different today, where we're going to look at everybody's strengths. So, I believe you've all taken the Strengths Finder test, sent Erin your results, and then she sent them over to me. And what we're doing is the reason I want to try to, and this is just our first one, right? So honestly, I'll probably learn a lot from this, but just to give you guys an idea, this was the very first thing that our VP of sales, Sarah Bjorgard, had the sales team do when the liaisons moved under her and then when the coaching program started, was she had us all take the test so that we could figure out our 5 strengths. And, I think that was great for us to know. I think if you had listed what some of the strengths could have been, I probably would have guessed maybe 4 or 5 of these, or probably at least 3 of them. But I think what's most impactful is the fact that when she knows what our strengths are, she can help delegate us to different projects, right? So for example, I don't think it's any secret right now that we're working aggressively on building a brand new back office. And so depending on what the topic is that day on the back office or what we're looking into, she may determine that it's better for me to go to that meeting, or it may be better for Matthew to go to that meeting just based on our strengths. And so that's where I really think that this is powerful, is especially once you know how everyone else on your team works, so that you can figure out how to incorporate what they're best at into your everyday practice. And so because you'll be able to know more about your team, right? So for example, like my number one strength is competition. So I know that I'm driven by, it doesn't matter what it is. There doesn't have to be a trophy. There doesn't have to be anything. If you just say that someone is going to win first place, I'm trying to win that, no matter, it could be something stupid. So I'm motivated by that. You don't have to incentivize me in that way. I'll just, you hold a contest. I'm going to try to hit number one. Same thing with achiever. Achiever is someone that I think it says it in the book, right? It says that every single day, you start back at 0 and you're trying to progress up. And so depending on what that topic of conversation is, she might have me go into that meeting. Now, how do we best incorporate that on the team, right? I think that's what we're going to try to figure out today. And I don't have a perfect answer for everybody. I'll just be completely honest with you. But I think that if we can start to look at where some of our strengths are, we'll know how to work with one another. So let me pull up the list quick. So we've got, and just so you know, I've read the book. I've read it a couple of times. I've read the 5 strengths that I've got probably the most. Now, for some of you, harmony. I see Megan is a harmony. I don't see her on the call, but that's one that
we have a couple other harmonies on here.
Okay, cool. That's I've got one of the 2 lists pulled up right now.
Morris on here. Hold on. Well, everyone probably knows what their strengths are, but actually I don't think there's anything on here that's harmony.
So first, let's talk about, we see strategic a lot, right? So that's something that we got to be careful about, because that means we're all very strategic. We're all going to have our own ideas, and that could cause sometimes some conflict, right? Especially if we all have our own view on how to do it, because that's the number one thing that I think has popped up on the list here for every single person is strategic, which is awesome. That's a great trait to have, because that means you're planning, you're very focused on what you need to do to get to that next step. But everyone's going to have a varying opinion on that, right? And I think the other strengths are going to help play into that as well. There are some that are, let's see. So Amanda's got maximizer, positivity, communication, strategic, and woo, right? So we can see that her idea is going to be a whole lot different. Positivity is going to be a huge one, right? I'm sure that's going to be the main focus of her strategy, is to make sure that we're staying positive. So it may not be best suited for her to go and call every single person out that maybe doesn't have a convenience order turned on, and if so, it's going to have to be in a certain approach that's going to fit the way that she wants to have that happen, right? But that's going to look different than somebody that's maybe got the same idea that strategic is one of their strengths, but then maybe it's competition. Because if it was me, I'm going to be trying to get the most people I've got to get their convenience order turned on, and I don't care, just turn it on. That's just going to be my mentality. I wouldn't care about necessarily being positive about it, right? I would just tell them to turn it on. Now, obviously, you're going to have to give them the reasons why that's important and everything.
So when I was reading, Jake, I noticed that strategics work really good with activators.
Mm-hmm. And maximizer too, right?
And maximizers. So like the strategists can come up with the ideas, and then the other people are the ones who gotta
help bring it to life.
Right.
Yeah. Now, is it? I guess the one thing I probably should have done before this call, I should have built the downlines here to see who was part of what team. But I'll just kind of go off of the list here. And sorry, I'm flipping back and forth. I'm looking at the list on my phone because I'm doing the Zoom on here, so I'm flipping back and forth between both.
If you have a question about somebody, let me know because I can read you off, or I'm sure they can tell you what their strengths are too.
Okay, so
but
first,
like Nina Elshman, she's a harmony, input, positivity, arranger, ideation, and she is on Megan Ace's team. So Megan just hopped on.
Okay.
Megan and Jen Galt up in the top right.
So how about, why don't we start by doing something, because it's one thing for me. The truth is I could just sit here and read out of the definition like what everyone's strengths is. That's not going to do any good. You all know that. So why don't we go through really quick, and I'll give you each a chance to like unmute yourself and tell me which of your 5 strengths, that way that I can write it down and kind of narrow it down here, which of your 5 strengths you think you utilize the most often in this business. So I guess we'll just start with you, Aaron, then we'll go to Jamie and then Jen.
I definitely think that mine is strategy.
Okay.
I would say for them, like, that's what I use the most of for myself.
Okay. What's one example? And let's also have everyone give like one example of that strength, something that maybe you've done in the last 30 or 60 days. That's a good representation of that strength and how you've applied it.
So for me, like the strategy that I use a lot is like the numbers. Like I told you how I broke down all my leaders' numbers. Like I work really well at being able to look at, like your reports and numbers and then go, okay, from this place, we need to do X, Y, and Z to get you to this place, right? So like I'm really good at coming up with a plan and strategy to go from A to B, or like, with the team page, like we didn't have any momentum. So then I had to come up with a plan of how can I recreate momentum, even if it looks. So I left my big team page and started a smaller team page, and with the idea that even if there was only a few people on there, it still looked like there was lots of activity because all the people were participating, which then created momentum.
Perfect. It's a great example, and I knew that one just because we worked together. So, Jamie, your turn.
I would say achiever and self-assurance. Achiever. Every day I'm driven, so it's one of them. It also causes a stress, much less a great quality. But I'm very focused on going Emerald, and I believe we can do it. And I spend a lot of time pouring into my downlines to make sure that they're feeling that confidence and feeling that belief in themselves. So whether it's setting up calls like this or meeting with them in person, but really identifying what they're needing to move forward and pouring that in as well.
Okay. Perfect. And Jamie, do you feel that like, because I know that that's a common, I don't even have the book open or anything, but like I know that achiever, because that's my number 2 goal. It kind of says that each day we reset at 0. I think that's a perfect example, right? I come in every single day. I try to knock out as many calls as I can and try to make the biggest impact I can. But then the next day, I don't even care how I did the last day. I'm basically starting back over at 0. So is that fair for you to say that, like, doesn't matter how well some of those people did yesterday, how many enrollments they had, or how well you lifted them up, but this is a new day and you've got to start fresh, brand new?
Yes, it's consistency and working your business. I try to have downtime. I'll make sure I take, family time, whatever. It's not in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
On the day I'm going to give myself a break, I actually work the hardest. So, for me, making 5 new contacts a day is what needs to be done, and it's been consistently for almost 3 years. So, it's a double-edged sword. You can't be, exhausting yourself, but I must achieve.
Perfect. What about you, Jen?
So I would say it's kind of a tie between consistency and relator. So I guess I'll give the example as it relates to my team. So consistency. So I try to give everybody like the same 4 to 5 IPAs to do every single day. Kind of keep it consistent in that manner, which sometimes probably might be a bad thing as well, because I know not everybody is the exact same way in the way they learn or whatnot. So that is good and a bad thing. And then relator, because I try to kind of build a relationship with, especially my level ones, talking to them every day, even if it's not necessarily business related. So trying to build that relationship with them. So I would say those two are the top for me.
Okay. Perfect. What about you, Nina?
So the one I think I use that I got the most is probably positivity. Like I tend to be a cheerleader that's like pushing my team to do better, or like if something negative comes up, like I'm the one that encourages them to be like, well, it can also be a good thing, like if you see it this way, and like kind of explain a different like side of it. So it's not necessarily negative, but they just have to kind of look at it a different way.
Okay. What's one example maybe in like the last 30 or 60 days where you've used that positivity to maybe change some dynamic going on in your team?
I've had a few level ones that they've been on my team for a while, but they kind of like had a slow start. So just like continually like first place to get them started, and it's really paid off in like the last month.
Okay, perfect. What about you, Annie?
I would probably say that it's a toss-up between woo and positivity for me. I'm a very kind of upbeat, uplifting person. I like to meet new people, so meeting new people is very easy for me to engage with them and start a conversation with them. I feel my struggle with that is with Plexus. I don't know how to bring Plexus into the picture, but I'm very good at meeting new people and talking to them.
Okay. Perfect. What about you, Amanda?
I would say maximizer for me. An example of that would be that I can easily spot runners on my team, keeps them motivated and reaching for a bigger goal than what they had originally set, or encouraging them to reach for a bigger goal and staying focused on that goal all month long.
Okay. Thank you. What about you, Hillary?
Well, my top two are communication, woo, and then positivity, developer, and restorative. Obviously, I use communication every single day. No secret that that's what I would like to talk about. And I think it's important to communicate, all that sort of stuff. And positivity, I guess. I think that I use all of those kind of equally in different areas within my team. Communicating with them, letting them know, what's going on, what's expected, what are we doing moving forward. Always trying to put a positive spin on it so that they see the bright side of things and go from there. I guess I think restorative and was the weirdest one for me. Like I'm like, what is that? Developer makes sense because my brain never stops, so I'm always thinking of new ideas and like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. But I definitely know I need to work with someone that I can't remember what you said, but puts the action behind it, because I have all of these ideas and someone that can kind of rein me in back from my rainbow unicorn cloud where I'm positive and everything's good.
Okay, perfect. What about you, Megan?
Mine number one was harmony.
And I'm not looking for like necessarily whichever one was at the top, just whichever one you think applies the most to your business.
I was gonna say that one just threw me off because I think number 3 for me, achiever, was probably the one that most applies because I like everybody achieving their goals, whether it be hitting that promotion or getting a new customer. I thrive off of that, of people achieving knowledge or just hitting goals and growing. So I think that one was the biggest for me that I think applies.
Okay. What about you, Trisha? Thank you, Megan.
We're going to share Facebook posts that have been very fruitful for us in the past, so they can gain an understanding of how you promote these other products or business.
Trisha?
You there, Trisha?
We're going to role play with them so that when they get an objection, they can handle it gracefully. And it's like they heard it a million times over. They're going to be able to handle that objection. It's going to feel positive as to.
Might have somebody in my A. So, what about you, Ann?
Well, it's hard to choose just one for me because I've seen my top 3 are adaptability, futuristic, and empathy. And I see them all pretty strongly, especially in the last, probably 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Adaptability, I've had to go with the flow and take things one day at a time with the things that have happened with our team and everything going on within the last 6 months or so. And so I guess that's probably a good thing that I was able to kind of be the adaptability type of person that I didn't realize I was, because I don't take change well, as Amanda knows. And so I guess that's a really good thing that came out at number 1. The futuristic, I use that a lot to be able to inspire, not only see my future and my visions, but to be able to inspire others with those visions, I think is huge with my team. And I can help them on their days when they're, not maybe seeing the vision or down and out and a little depressed. And the empathy part, I think helps a lot because of that empathy, I can kind of put myself in their shoes and build that relationship that is so prominent in our business.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. What about you, Rachel?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm using the app and I'm not good with it. Okay, so my first one was futuristic, and I think that really encompasses me well because I'm a dreamer for sure. So I guess it was maybe at the beginning of this month I made a video for the team that was it focused around looking at the future and what's coming and why now is the time that you really want to commit wholeheartedly to your business and push as hard as you can, because the company is working on our behalf to do all of these things for us, all these things that are coming. So I think that's one way that I've used that trait to help my team. My number 4 one was developer, which I thought would have been a little higher on the list, but I fall into that management mode really easily, and I think that that's probably falls under the developer, because I always want to do groups like a book club or a leadership group, or something that pulls away the people who really want something, and we're able to hone in on it and focus on it and try and achieve things together. Which I think at one point in time I spread myself too thin trying to do those things. So right now the only thing that I really have going on for my team in regards to development is we created a 30-day business development group, which is like a training group for new ambassadors, and they search by the day, and it's like, day 1 I do this, day 2 I do that. and it gives them a plan for 30 days. So that's it for me.
Perfect. Thank you. And what about you, Dee Dee?
Do you have any questions around that or any thoughts that you want to share?
You there, Dee Dee? Okay, might have one other person MIA. So the reason I wanted you to kind of share those is because now I think we need to try to figure out now is how we can incorporate. Oh, okay. Oh, hi, Dee Dee. I see the chat. Okay, will you just throw in the chat, Dee Dee, really quick, which strength you think applies most to your business, and then just one time that maybe in the last 30 days or 60 days that you've applied that strength to something that's happened on your team? And so the idea behind doing this is we need to bring everybody together to develop, to use everyone's strengths to help this team grow to its best potential, right? I think right now, I mean, I've been working with Amanda and Aaron, and we've got some good momentum going in from these last couple of months, but we really need to capitalize on that. And so what I want to kind of share with you is something that this is kind of really what spawned the idea, right? Was seeing how my boss utilizes all of our strengths here on the sales team for different things. And then talking with Rebecca Folks' team. So Rebecca Folks, Christy Hull, and Timmy Yancey are three diamonds that I work with. And I use them as a reference because they kind of told me about something a couple of months ago that they do on their team. So they figured out pretty early on. And when I say this, I don't want to take anything away from anyone, right? Because they're all very good at this business in every aspect of it. But what they found was that some of them were better at different things. So Christy and Rebecca they do just a good job of recruiting, right? They're great. But what they found was that Timmy Yancey and her husband, Jake Yancey, were just these recruiting machines. I mean, I'm talking to where Timmy can walk into and I've seen this firsthand when she's been down here before. Right? We went out to eat one time, and seriously, like 10 minutes later, she's over at the bar, like swapping cell phones with somebody, like adding each other on Facebook, and she got them signed up. So, I mean, she could just enroll pretty much anybody, right? And so, but the problem was they realized, I mean, Timmy lives a very fast-paced lifestyle. I mean, her husband owns his own business, right? Big Jake's Tires. She was an active blogger. Her kids are super active in, I mean, I don't know if you follow their Facebook, but they're like trying to get into Hollywood right now. So it's a huge thing that they got going on, right? So they're very busy. And so for them, when they enroll somebody, it's hard for them to be able to take the time to build that relationship with them, love on them, train them, make sure that they're teaching, what the ideas are duplicating down. But what Rebecca and Christy found, and Rebecca and Christy are Timmy's upline, was that they were very good at training, at developing, at getting other people to learn the business, right? Also duplicate, encourage them, love on them. And so that kind of created this culture on the team page where everybody was empowering everybody else, right? It didn't necessarily matter if this was on someone's outside leg or anything like that. And what happened is they all saw success. They all boomed really fast, saw great growth, and went diamond. And that trickled down to other members of their downline, 2 Sapphires, Morgan Adams, Megan Moore, and then their Emerald, Tara Berger. And then Megan and Tara Berger down there are doing the same things that they were taught. And like 10 levels down, that same duplication is happening. And so it kind of led me to think, okay, like how can we get teams to do this same type of thing? And that's kind of where we're starting at today. Now, this is my first time doing it, so I promise you, like, I'm not an expert at this by any means. But just from looking at some of these things, I can see here that we've got some people that they're highly driven by their own, by achieving new goals, right? I mean, I think it's fair to say that there's I think most of you have got strategic on here, so I think you all have pretty good ideas when it comes to strategy. So the first thing that I would suggest is just partnering together, maybe once a month to come up with a strategy, right? Maybe the first of every month you get together, you talk about how this last month was, you're just very open and transparent about it, and you talk about some strategy for this next upcoming month. Then what you can do after you've applied the strategy is figure out, okay, obviously we see that Annie and Hillary are very, very, I mean, they can love on people, right? And I know that we've got others too, right? And whereas maybe Rachel is also good at is good at training them. You know, her strength is developer and very futuristic, right? So she can look forward, but she can also help, you know. And then the same thing with like Amanda, right? She's maximizing their strengths, right? So after they're trained, after they're out there doing that, maybe Amanda's looking at them saying, okay, here's what you're doing. Here is the way to maximize your potential in doing this, right? So for example, maybe it's more suited towards Amanda to be talking to people about the importance of convenience orders, right? So because she wants to maximize all those new people and she wants to maximize whoever's enrolling these new people by saying, hey, I see you're doing a great job of enrolling people, but let's maximize your potential by making sure this convenience order is on so that we make sure that they get 60 days of consistency, right? And she's the one that is maybe applying that because that's where her strength is. Whereas, I mean, let's see. I mean, we got a lot of positivity here. And that's what's cool is it's kind of divvied up into, I think, 3 different things. I think, oh goodness, you're good. So one of the things, so positivity, right? So that means that you guys are going to be able to love on new people, encourage them, show them the vision, right? Make them be able to put themselves in somebody else's shoes, right? So that's where I would encourage each of you with positivity to go on there and maybe you trade off on the team page, right? Maybe one day it's Annie's turn to talk about something super positive and show somebody the vision, right? And then she doesn't do it again for a week. But then maybe Hillary jumps on and does that same exact thing but puts her own twist to it, right? Then maybe we do the same thing with Nina, right? Because you've got positivity as one of your top strengths. Then maybe we take, Rachel, we take Aaron, we take Amanda, and we turn you guys into maybe some of the more trainers, right? You guys are teaching and showing people, here's the ropes. Here's how we've done these things before. And then, obviously you've got empathy on there, right? And adaptability. So you can show them, okay, so when things start to change, right? Because it's always going to change. Like you're at the very beginning in this business, you're talking about a warm market, right? But at some point you have to adapt and be able to change into your cold market. Same thing anytime there's, I know this might be, I'm dating myself here with the old accelerator, but there's no secret that at one point we moved from our focus being weight loss to more gut health, right? So there's adaptability there, right? You got to adapt and be able to fix that. I don't want to be negative here, but I'm sure the back office, right? That's one of them, right? You had to adapt to figure out like, okay, so what are we going to do if someone does run into an issue when they're trying to sign up, right? You've got to be able to, if your whole sales pitch is based upon the fact that it's simplistic and easy, and then all of a sudden it changes, well, you've got to adapt to that. Now, hopefully that's not something that you'll have to adapt to and continue doing very long because we're working really hard on that back office. But so I think really quick, Jamie, I think it's fair to say that you're somebody that's going to, you're an achiever, right? So you're somebody, I haven't seen your business, but I would guess that you probably got pretty high enrollments for yourself in terms of personally enrolling, right? Just by looking at by just you telling me your strengths. So you're somebody who can almost lead by example, right? And show because remember, enrolling is just one piece of this business. A lot of times we'll see, especially amongst red personalities, which I'm a red myself, which is why I see this issue where I've got reds right now that are struggling to try to go to Hawaii, right? They were emeralds. And I look at them and I can't tell them to enroll more people. They're getting 5, 6, 7 people a month. I can't tell them to lead their team any better because they're doing all the things that they're supposed to do, 3-way chats, IPAs, leading Zoom calls, all those things. But they're not developing other leaders around them, right? So they're the only leader on their team. So that's where if you can lean on each other's strengths, right? Maybe Jamie, you've got, and I'm just making assumptions here based off these, so don't take any of these personally, I promise.
Yeah, Jake, you got it pegged. You're fine.
You're probably going to be able to bring a lot more people into the business, right? But you may be somebody that the next day you're starting out at 0 again. You're like, okay, I haven't enrolled anybody today, or maybe I haven't enrolled anybody this week, and that's where your focus is, right? And so sometimes that can be hard, and I'm the same way, where it can be hard to really take a deep breath and focus on training and developing all those other people that you've brought in already. But if you can link them up with somebody else that maybe maybe enrolling is something they can do, but that's not their strongest part, right? Obviously, we still need to always enroll in this business. I don't want anyone to take this as like me saying don't continue to personally sponsor, but there shouldn't be any secret that some people are just, they're naturally gifted at being able to just go out and talk to anybody and bring them into the business, right? I mean, Timmy Yancey is that perfect example. And so let me kind of just open it up really quick to you guys, and let me see, like, is that fair? I mean, I know that I just kind of made a general statement about each of you, right? That, you know, some of you are going to be more of the trainers, and some of you are going to love on more people, and some of you are going to lead and inspire by example. But do you think that those are things that you could start incorporating into the team page right now?
So how important do you think it is, you know, for us to be working, you know, as one team? Like right now we've got an emerald leg over, you know, we've got 2 emeralds on here. We have 1, 2, 3 senior rubies. And so we've got, like, right now we are all kind of doing our own thing, right? And so I guess how do we come together? How do we like come together and say, okay, let's help each other? Like, are we do you know, like, how can we make that transition to where we're leaning on each other more?
I mean, so I can definitely see where it can be difficult, right? Because I know that for many of us, like, you guys might have 9 to 5s, right? So you have busy lives and you're also ambassadors. So I can understand where it can be tough to spend time working with another member of another downline that you're not going to see anything from. Maybe it just starts off a little bit. First, let me say that I think team unity is super important. I mean, we had Helen McFadden. She's still up here. No, she's not still up here. But we had Helen McFadden here today. One of the guests at corporate office. And I mean, one of the very first things, I mean, we were picking her brain, the coaches were over there. And like, one of the things that she says is like, healthy competition amongst the legs is great. She encourages that, but she also encourages everyone to come together and feel like they're part of one team, right? I think that at the end of the day, I think that's what everybody's looking for in life, not just Plexus, but to feel like they're a part of something. And I know that, so I guess here's a really good example, I guess, in terms of why I think it's important to help everybody else. So I'll just use my current boss, Sarah Bjorgard, as an example, and one of my former bosses at Target as an example. So my former boss at Target, he was micromanaging. I just didn't enjoy working for him, right? Like, I really didn't. Whereas Sarah, right? Let me put it this way. If you guys aren't familiar with this, like, the Jewel Liaisons used to be under Marianne for a certain period of time, and then we moved under sales. I can tell you that when we were still under Marianne, had we gone to Sarah with a question, which I have before, she was more than willing to drop everything and help me, right? That's her integrity. That's a true leader, right? Because she's not just focused on what she's going to gain. She's focused on how can I help everybody else, right? And so it's not just specific to her own department, right? If somebody from marketing right now comes over and they have some question, I promise you, I mean, granted, she's a super busy woman. She will take her time to make sure that they get their help, right? That the question gets answered. Or she'll link them up with the person best suited to answer that, right? Maybe it's not her, maybe it's her director, Danielle. And she's like, hey, you know what? I think Danielle actually knows more about this, but let me link you up with her, right? She's not going to leave you out there to dry. And the reason I use her as an example is because she's somebody, and I'm super passionate about Plexus. I mean, this is my favorite place. Like, I'm no joke, but like, I would follow her pretty much anywhere. And it's because of her integrity and her willingness to just come together as a team and build everyone up around her. So I definitely think there's something to be said about that team unity and the way that people are going to view you as a leader by you reaching out and basically saying, here, like, here's my post on the team page, here's my idea for the week, or here's something that we've done, or hey, I'm hosting a training event on duplication, or maybe we go out there and we post, hey, you know, maybe this is something that you post, Aaron, and you can post like, hey, Jamie sponsored X amount of people this month. If you're having struggles with sponsoring, hop on at X time, and Jamie is going to be sharing some different ideas, some of the small things that she does to help close the deal or seal the deal, right? Maybe.
So do you think that we just, because we have all these team pages, like when I got started like we thought when someone got gold, they should open their own team page, like to become a leader, right? Do leadership things. So now we have like a bunch of team pages, like everyone's got their own pages, and which is fine. Like I don't need that like control. Like I don't care really, but what I want to know is, do we all have to be on each other's team pages? Do we focus on each
I think you should
tips and then bring them to other pages, or
I'm a huge fan of it
What do we
just
do?
being, I mean, I'm a huge fan of just one team page. I know that that's hard, especially when you've got multiple emeralds, right? Especially when you get to senior or emerald, you want to have your own team page. And if you choose to go and still do that, I'm not saying that that's the wrong decision. But the reason that I like having a single team page is because, and I mean, Rebecca and Christy Hull are both diamonds, and they both are in the same exact team page and have their own stuff. And the reason I say that is because if you're just holding a team pages, and especially at like the gold rank, like when you're senior ruby, you've got a bigger organization, right? But when you're just a gold, you've got, I shouldn't say just a gold, but when you're a gold ambassador, like your team is not that big. Like they should already kind of be viewing you as a leader as it is, right? It shouldn't matter. Like a team page shouldn't necessarily like indicate whether you're a leader or not.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
But no one else is viewing you as a leader at that point. Your whole leg is, but the other sideline legs aren't. And I think that when, like for example, I mean, Aaron, I've told you about this team page that I'm in where everybody's incorporated in it, right? And they all have these posts. So like, and I can't share whose team page it's in, but I'm in like 90 or 100 different team pages now. And there's this one that I'm a part of that is seriously, it's like the coolest culture where like everybody's incorporated. There's a silver ambassador in there, and he's a personal trainer. And this guy shares fitness tips. He shares tips about your posture, right? He'll be like, hey, like I know we're all about health and wellness, right? But the truth is, like if you can't sit up straight, you know, and sit up straight with good posture, really, are you that healthy? You know, like I know that, like, and so he brings that into there. Well, here's some tips on how to correct your posture so that you're healthy and you're able to function right, and you're not putting extra stress on joints. There's a person in there that almost fast started gold, and so they were a former realtor, so they share all kinds of tips on how to close the deal and just certain verbiage that they use. They got a pharmacist in there that shares all kinds of ingredient knowledge and product knowledge, right? So they're all using their strengths and sharing them with the team, and the rest of the team is valuing them no matter what leg they're on, because they can't wait for that person to post something so that they can absorb that knowledge and information for themselves. So so what I would suggest is for you to consolidate it, or at least if you're not going to consolidate it and you're going to have separate team pages, for you to each be a part of each other's team page and each have an active role in there. Now that's a little bit harder because that's going to require you to have to be posting more each week, and maybe you're doing 6 posts a week instead of 1 now. So do as you want with that in terms of, I can't really recommend one way or the other, but I am a fan of consolidating the team page, and maybe you just put every single jewel as a moderator in there, and you just say like, hey, these are the leaders on the team page, and you expect that like maybe every Monday Nina's going to go in there and she's going to post some positive message that maybe helped her get through a time where she was struggling, right? Or Hillary can do that. Aaron, maybe you go in and you share the strategy that you implemented back when you were a gold to get you to senior gold, or something like that, right? You're very strategic. You got that. That's the way your brain's functioning there. And it's hard for me to really talk about each of your strengths. I mean, I know what they are, but I've really only worked closely with Amanda and Aaron, and I've worked with Hillary before. I met you before, Hillary, and we know each other, but we've never like really engaged in like coaching calls or anything. So it's hard for me to know exactly exactly how your brain works. But if you guys can each have an active role in the team page to where you're engaging the rest of the team, so that it doesn't matter if they're on a different leg than Jamie, like that's still valuable information. They're going to view Jamie as a leader, and they can't wait for her to post. They're going to eat that up. They're going to absorb it. And now when I mean, heck, how many times have you heard it where, I mean, we see it in the jewel page all the time, right, Aaron, and Hillary and Amanda, where like someone will share something. They'll be like, you know, I need a testimony from somebody like this, and they're like, hey, would you like me to reach out to this person and let them know? Like, they're on a completely different leg. Like, they're not going to benefit at all, and they're willing to reach out and do those types of things. that I think it's a true statement when people say it takes a village, and if you can rely on if Jamie can rely, and I don't know what leg Jamie's on, so I apologize here, but if Jamie can rely on Nina to be super positive for some of these new people that came on board that are maybe struggling that Jamie enrolled, then maybe Nina can lean on Jamie for some help. Like, hey, like I've got some people that are interested in working the business, but the first 5 or 6 people they reached out to, they got to know. Obviously, I'm very positive. I'm encouraging them to keep going, but would you be able to share some tips with them on how you're able to get so many enrollments? You see, does that kind of make sense the way I'm suggesting it? I know that this is not flowing 100% smooth because this is my first time I'm ever trying to figure out how to incorporate the strengths in with you all. But that's kind of what I'm getting at, is trying to figure out how you guys can engage every single week, daily, but maybe maybe it's Mondays it's Jamie, Tuesdays it's Jen, Wednesdays it's Nina, Thursdays it's Annie, Fridays it's Megan, and Saturdays it's Tricia, Sundays it's Ann, and then Rachel and Dee Dee, you guys are in there. Maybe there's 2 posts a day, and maybe each of you are required to post twice a week with your number one strength that you think helped you in that business that week, or maybe it's an article related to your strengths. So
basically,
I hope that's
just owning a team page together.
I think. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, Aaron?
I'm fine. I definitely don't need to be the center stage. I don't compare to that. That's not something that even affects me really. If someone's following Megan or Rachel or Amanda, I just want them to get the information, right? And so I think find a place where everyone can share their strengths and get all the information. Because even for me, there's a lot of places that I lack that I can't give, on my team page, just not my strength. So I need the other people to come in and say, well, this is my strength, so I'll contribute to the team as a whole, because like you said, it takes a village. So from my standpoint, I couldn't possibly give everyone the information that all of us combined could give together, I guess.
Right. And people are going to respond to different styles of teaching or coaching, right? I mean, I know something that I always appreciated from every coach I ever had or any boss I ever had was kind of almost like your style, Aaron. You can be very just blunt about it, and I like that. That's one thing that I appreciate. When we go back and forth, if I've ever suggested an idea that you're not going to sit there for 2 minutes and kind of try to figure out the best way to tell me that you don't like that idea and we're not going to do that. You just say, I don't like that idea. And I like that because we didn't waste any time. That's how I respond very well to that, right? I've always appreciated that in a coach. But then there's other people that if you respond to them that way, they can shut down, right? There were some, I always liked it when my football coach was hard on me and would yell at me and tell me that was not a good performance and I sucked. But there were other people that if he said that to them, they kind of shut down, right? And so if you can also figure out how, if you know your people, right? If everyone knows who their people are and how they best respond, then you can link them up with someone that might be able to help them, right? Because maybe it's better for one of your level ones, Aaron, who's maybe very sensitive to some of that stuff, and maybe you being blunt about it. Maybe it's best to link them up with Hillary, right? Who can maybe get that same message across. She's like, hey, I'm a Jewel, here's, and she's does it in a more positive way. But maybe Hillary's got somebody that would really just appreciate, just tell me what the heck I'm doing wrong, right? Correct me where it needs to be. And so if you can also lean on each other for those things, that's going to be, I think, super impactful too. I mean, what do you guys think about just maybe even just show me by head nods or anything. Do you think that consolidating a team page would be a good idea, a wise idea, as long as you're each engaged?
I honestly think they're different people communicate and Aaron, Jamie, myself, we're red personality. Where
so I'll name drop that on the phone or on the call tonight a little bit and
message them from Hillary, who is more of the rainbows and butterflies. That's why my keeper by my side. But I really feel like this could be key, and I think this could be what we're missing.
You're kind of cutting in and out there, Amanda. The audio was, but I think I got what you were saying there.
I think that this could be what we're missing.
You know,
on our team.
I agree. I mean, I think that it's all just about it truthfully is unity. I mean, that's the same culture that Tarl and Alec kind of created from the get-go here at corporate, right? And I mean, I remember I was a 15th employee hired on, and honestly, like, that's hard to do. Like, to be able to keep that same, it takes an entire team of people to keep that culture going. And I can tell you, if it weren't for some of the, you know, well-respected managers and directors that they also hired in place that had the same values that they did, we wouldn't still have this culture now that there's 350 some odd people at Plex at corporate. But this is a super fun place to work because they hired in people that met those same things. And I mean, the same way, I mean, I guess the best way to think of it is, like, think about a corporation, right? Like when Tarl, he's their CEO, right? But he hires different like, I think the best way to look at whether or not you've got a great CEO or not is the executives that he's placing around them. I mean, if Cindy Latham, our chief marketing officer, goes to Tarl and says, hey, this is, I think, what we should do, he basically gives her the reins and says, I trust what you have to, I trust you, right? Same thing with Steve Howard, if our chief financial officer, if he goes to Tarl and says, this is not a smart investment, we should not do this, he's going to listen. He might have his opinion might be different, but he's going to sit there and he's going to be open to every single thing that Steve Howard says. And I bet you at the end of the day, he's going to go with Steve Howard's opinion because he knows he's the expert in that area. He knows that that's his strength. And so that's what, and you can really kind of see once you start doing this. And actually, before we move any further, I would actually say to try to get your whole team to take this test, because again, that's how you can really figure out more about those people below you too. It's great for you to know what your own strengths are, but then once you've got your whole team, you know.
My communication strength is dying to talk right now.
And again, I just want to get some high level.
I'm dying to give my 2 cents. Okay, so here are my thoughts as far as coming from the Emerald with my own team page, consolidating a team page to have this large team page. I'm like Erin, where I don't need to have the praise. Like, if you get it from somebody else, like, go right ahead. My only concern is that the culture
for 2017
in what I believe in how to be led, if that's not in alignment with other people that they're getting it from, I want to make sure everyone's on the same page before we would go forward with that. And also, we've tried in the past to get everyone together, and the ball gets dropped. You know, people go MIA, they make a commitment to something, and then it gets dropped, and then it's you know, the same people that's kind of getting to do the work. And then and I can speak as a leader standpoint, it gets exhausting. So that's where it would be nice to have everyone else, because there are times where I'll message Erin and be like, okay, I need you to do this, or Amanda, like, that's not my strength. Like, I need your help in this. And I feel like that would make it a lot more fun and less taxing of going, oh my goodness, now I have to try to be this cheerleader plus this good cop, bad cop. I mean, it's like single parenting. It's meant to have 2 people parent the child. You know, I feel like that part of it is good as long as everyone decides how the child should be raised. And there can be differences in that, but at the end of the day, the goal and the direction and the vision is all the same. So that's my thought process on having a team page, because I mean, I'm going to be having a baby. I've got a lot of stuff going on. He's going to be in the NICU, you know, like, I need that. I can't be on the island, the only one running a team page. So I love the idea, and I'm all about help. So I just think that we all need to be able to come together in a cohesive unit before this would work. And I'm definitely not opposed to the idea, because I'm all about, maybe that did work for us for the first 2 years, and now we need to transition into this aspect and alleviate a lot of the micromanaging that people may. Bryson and Brinley, please stop. No, 5, 4, 3, done. Okay. So a lot of the micromanaging part of it happens when you're trying to run the team page, and then you get lost and caught up in, working your own business. So I think that would be good, but I communicated a lot of stuff there. So sorry.
On that, Hillary, I think people have to know that they can communicate, right? And even to me, like, if you don't like something that I did, just tell me. Yes. We need to just be able to have that communication. Like, hey, I don't really like the way you worded that post. Like, can you change it? Or I don't think we should do this or this. Like, I'm fine with that part of it. I don't know always the right way to do it. I'm going to do it the red way or the strategic way or the way that I'm thinking. And I'm learning to change my colors and try to be more general, but we all just need to have open communication, which is something that we haven't had, I don't think, ever in that aspect. And just, it would be, for me, I feel like it would be a great way to empower some of our younger leaders, like our golds and our senior golds, and hey, I want you guys to, maybe we take 4 or 5 golds and put them together and say, you guys get to plan this week. What do you want to do for the team call this week? What should we talk about? Or something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there, but.
Well, that develops other leaders on your team too. I mean, that's exactly how other people are developed. And I think that you could even start it off how the Jewels of Excellence page is, right? Hillary, Amanda, and Aaron, right? Where right at the beginning, they've got that, or even the ambassador community page that the sales team has up. We've got that disclaimer at first, right? And you could have a disclaimer that says hey, we've got different personalities that are jewels on this team, right? And list them, right? You can say right there, here are the jewels, here's our strengths, here's our color personalities. If you find that something that we post is not the most resourceful to you based on the way that we went about it, just know that there's different ways to do this, right? Because, and that's what it really needs to be, is it doesn't need to be one right way to do things, right? Because Hillary, you're a jewel. Amanda, you're a jewel. Aaron, you're a jewel. You all got there and you all have different ideas. You all had different strategies to get there. And so I think if you can remind the rest of the team that too, and just say, look, when I'm posting something, when I'm giving you encouragement or ideas or anything, this is really just my 2 cents, right? I mean, the same way it is for me, right? You could all go to any one of the other coaches in this building and you would get a varying opinion on some different things on this.
No.
So
oh, you're not muted, girlfriend.
Oh man, this is gonna be great.
We hear you yelling at you guys.
But yeah, so I mean, the same way that I would advise somebody, look, I'm very red personality. So when people were talking about oh, I can't get convenience orders turned on, one of the first things that I'll suggest is just don't let them in the team page. Don't have a convenience order on, right? But it's very red personality. That's not the same thing that maybe one of these other coaches here would suggest, because it varies for them. They're going to figure out a different way to try to get you to tell them about turning the team page on, right? Maybe if they're so who knows? So just if you can have that disclaimer at the beginning that says that here are the jewels on this team, right? We got Hillary, Amanda, Tanya, Aaron, and then you can even list the senior rubies, right? And I would go all the way down to even Ruby and just say here's the people. Maybe you post and then kind of, I would almost force you guys into a position of leadership though. I would say that it should almost be put out there that every single Monday Jamie's going to share something with the team, so that if Jamie drops the ball that Monday, the whole team is looking at Jamie. No leader has to go to Jamie and say, Jamie, why didn't you do this? The whole team is expecting it. So it's not, Aaron doesn't have to go out and say anything. You can just be silent about it. It's more of, it's your responsibility to the team. So I hope that kind of, what's everyone's thoughts on that? I'll mute myself.
I've got actually kind of 2 little things on this. On a big team page like that, I have one thing where I know when I joined, I felt so overwhelmed by the big team page. And I did not incorporate, I did not utilize, I kind of shut off because it was like overload for like 6 months. And I'm worried about that especially now, because we have gotten so much larger. I'm worried a little bit about that. The other thing is how do you run like team contests and things like that for your team if you're on one big page?
So you make two great points there. The first one that I'll just talk about is the contest, right? I think you can always add them to a chat, or you can even just make the post and says that like here's who's eligible, my levels 1 through 4, and you can even tag them in the post so that they know who they are. Now, as far as they're being overwhelmed, I can definitely see that, but I also see where if I'm a brand new person coming in and I'm joining your team page, and I'm also joining Jamie's team page, and I'm also joining Erin's team page, and then like her sponsor too. Like now I'm in 14 pages. It's information overload, like information ADD. I don't know where to go to get it. I want a one-stop shop to be able to get all the info, to be able to work my business. And so I think that if you can go to a place that has that now, and maybe you do, and also like imagine Welcome Wednesday, right? Maybe that's what you do. I know that's what Helen McFadden was talking about. How cool would it be for a brand new person joining to get 150 likes as opposed to 30 likes, for being a brand new ambassador? Or if they go on the team page and like, hey, I'm a brand new person. I just made my very first post. It's not getting any traction. No one's going to it. And all of a sudden you get 100 people to quickly go there because it's one giant team page and they're all supporting each other. Now all of a sudden that completely changes that person's ability to feel confident about working the business. Now they've got 150 likes on there validating that for some people that join a giant team. I mean, imagine if you've only got 200 or 300 friends on Facebook and you join a team page with 500 people, and then you make one post and all of a sudden you get 150 likes. And that one post that you've made is the most liked post you've ever had in your entire life because you've got so much support from people. That's why I think that there's a lot of value in the giant team page. But I do agree with what everyone's saying, that you have to establish the culture from the beginning, and you can't let it change, because it's easy to let that shift away if you're not in control of it and managing it. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a brilliant idea. I'm very scared because I work so hard on my team page and I'm so much further down from some of these ladies, and there wasn't a lot of people in between me working that, but it sounds exactly what needs to be done. I mean, it's using your time wisely and using everybody's strengths. So I'm just going to be scared for a little bit because I work so hard on my team page and put so much effort into it. And it's not that I'm really letting it down. I bring it on a bigger platform. But so I'm scared here.
Hey, I mean, I like that too, I completely, I see where you're coming from. It's always going to be a scary step like that. I just know that utilizing everybody's maximum potential is going to be how you're going to see the biggest growth. Otherwise, you're kind of you're going to have to move at your own pace, and you're dependent on your own efforts. Whereas if you can get everybody incorporated, working together.
Well, and it really, Erin's in my team page, Amanda's in my team page, Rachel Marie is a Senior Ruby sister, not even in my team, but she's in my team page because I value her strengths. So really, it's the same thing. It's just me giving up on my heroes. So I'll get over it.
We can put a little, we can be like, this is the hero, plexaholic, fit, right, healthy, freedom page.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but that is true, Jake. Like, these guys are all in each other's team pages anyway.
And that's why I think it's so important to consolidate them. But you guys, I mean, there's, outside of me, there's 11 of you on this call. The 11 of you get the ability to create the culture. You get to agree on it. So all you guys have to do, take me out of the equation here, kick me out of the Zoom. You guys discuss the culture. You guys are in 100% control. you just have to remind yourself that you are in control, and you guys have to be able to be willing to have a conversation with each other that's, you know, it doesn't have to be nasty. It doesn't have to be mean, but if there's something that's not fitting, I think you guys need to be able to talk it out. I mean, the same way, like, you've got almost like a council, like we have an advisory board, right? For every single, we have a product advisory board. We have the Diamond advisory board. We've got different advisory boards. You guys are the board that creates the rules, and you create the culture moving forward.
I think in regards to like the work of a team page, I can respect that, but also in the position that I'm in, I'm like, I'm over it. Like, you know, you get to a point of you're on the island and it's exhausting, and I would love to have someone actually connecting with my team too. Like, that would be so beneficial, because I would love a Jamie in my downline. She's not in my downline, but maybe she can just pull out a Jamie out of my downline because she's there, you know, and create that dynamic. Something I want to encourage everyone to think about too is that a lot of times our own personal fears interfere, and we place them on other people unnecessarily. So even if you have that fear, it's unfair to place it on someone else thinking that that's going to be their fear. And it's no secret that I'm, you know, law of attraction, what you think about, you bring about. So positivity Polly over here is going, you have to say that this is going to be it, and everyone has to be in agreement, because I'm also an energy person. And if there's a negative Nancy in there that is just pulling everyone down and sucking the life out of everyone and like, yeah, whining about stuff, like, put on your big girl panties. This isn't rocket science, and just love on people, help them, educate them, and move forward. Then it'll be good. But if you get that negative seed that's allowed to kind of sprout, then other people who are susceptible to that negativity can feed off of it and blossom. So I think that I'm actually surprisingly excited about having a merged team page. Maybe it's just because that's the point I'm at in my journey right now, where I've been leading, and I would love to have all of the other strengths combined. And I love people, and I love communication, and I love hearing. And if you think ideas are silly or you feel uncomfortable with something, don't sit on it. Talk about it, because the more you're sitting on it, you're feeding it, and you've dug yourself into a big unnecessary hole. You know, you've created a mountain out of a molehill. And I think that's what happens a lot, because people have felt like they couldn't voice their opinions in the past. And now I think that we can. And Aaron, I applaud you, and I see the energy and the change and being willing to, you know, be adaptable and to move. And you've never said that you're the queen bee that we all, you know, have to listen to and bow down to. And sometimes would probably just assume to take the backseat. But I feel like all of our strengths together is very, very exciting.
And I think exciting too, Aaron, that we were on the right path when we were part of that other group that we started a little while ago. So good that, you know, we were on the right path, and we should probably go back to it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I don't make the decision.
You muted yourself, Aaron.
I said, obviously, like, I don't make the decisions here. Like, this is totally up to all of you guys to make this decision, because it doesn't have to even be the Path to Diamond page. Like, I don't really care what page it is, but I think that everyone on this page right now could benefit from everybody else. Period. End of story. And I think that all of your teams will benefit from strengths of other people. Like Rachel Marie is the most organized, like, person on the planet. So, like, if there's someone that needs accountability in, like, how to stay organized and get it done, I mean, like, she does it. Jamie is like Miss Power, like empowerment, powerful person. You know, Hillary brings like all the sunshine. You know, I mean, there's all these different strengths, and like I don't have them all, and I don't think any one of us on the call has all the strengths. So, I mean, in my opinion, like I would love to see it happen. I mean, selfishly, I would love to see all of you guys working together. That would make me so happy, but I obviously respect all of you guys too. You know, I respect everyone, and I want, you know, whatever you guys want too. So, you know.
So how about this? Why don't you guys create the page, and then 1 month from now, we revisit it. Let's talk about how it's going. We'll do the same conversation we're having, and we can talk about things that aren't working well, things that we're seeing that are frustrating, and then that's how we just make it an ongoing thing. I'm more than happy to do that, because if that's what's going to give it, I mean, I think that that's what's going to bring the most impact. Because I mean, truthfully, I'm not looking at each of your businesses, but I'm looking at Aaron and Amanda's business pretty frequently. You guys are doing the right things. You just need more unity. So I don't know. That's my opinion, but I would recommend why don't you guys create it this week, and then let's have one more call like this a month from now, and if we have to have another one 3 months from after that, you know, to discuss how it's still looking, let's do that. Yeah, and if at any point, I mean, I think you guys should be comfortable sharing and talking with each other. I think that's how you'll be able to solve any problems. But the truth is, like, you can always use me as a resource if you want and tell me what you're feeling, and then we can discuss it anonymously on a call in a month, right, if there's a piece of it that you're not liking. And that's how we can go about it, you know. But I think that that's what's going to be the best. I think that's what's going to be able to – I think that will help you guys see the biggest growth in your team, because you'll have all kinds of people that are connected with people that they would have never met if they were isolated in these team pages. And, I mean – the last thing that I want to share with you guys is, and I think Hillary, Amanda, and Aaron know this, but when I first became a Jewel liaison over a year ago, the first question that I asked all the Jewels was, what's your favorite perk of being a Jewel? Is it the Lexus, or is it your trip to Hawaii? And they told me that it was the relationships that they built. And I thought that just sounded good, that they were just saying that because it sounds good, but it is the truth, right? I mean, I figured that out 6 months in when I first went to convention, that it's the relationships. That's why I'm logged into my work Facebook on my cell phone. I'm not logged into my old Facebook from high school. It's just because it's all about the relationships. So if you can help people on your team create new relationships with people that are on a sideline leg that they would never have met without it, right there, that's what you got to get back to. So that's kind of the last that I wanted to say about that. So.
Okay. Well, I think what I'm going to do is take this to my leader page. And I obviously, like, I think everyone knows where I stand, but I want to respect everybody, you know, for what their thoughts are. So I'm going to post it up in the leader page, and I appreciate all of your time, Jake. And I think you helped us a lot. At least for me, like, it was nice to see the insight and the communication and all that stuff. So I'll just take it from there, and then I'll let you know how it turns out.
Thank you. Please do. And yeah, I hope everybody lets me know how things are going. I mean, that's the truth. So.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good night.